back to town. We stocked up to theoretically go have a beach episode. A beach episode that turned out to be full of dead fish and fetishes in trees and drowners, which we exploded and shot the shit out of. That's kind of the long and short. There was a good amount of chatter back in the town, different roleplay stuff, but nothing that seemed to super go anywhere. So it's in the notes if people want to. Well, Sylvie and Euphy's isn't in the notes because Milo wasn't there. But yeah. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. And our cleric pieced out to go elsewhere to head home, which is why he's not with us.
Yeah, I think he went back to Skellig.
Yes. But yeah, and then we just finished murdering a bunch of drowners.
And Sylvie learned how to not drown.
Sylvie learned how to not drown. We learned that all the dead fish were a sign of either witches or hags, but we're not sure which. And theoretically, we're trying to recover some bodies to get some money, which Milo is increasingly pessimistic about the idea that we're going to find bodies, period. But yeah, that's about it.
So technically you all are still in a swamp.
We are all still in a swamp. We haven't rested or anything yet, though. That would be Milo's first order of business at this point. Is I don't know about you all, but none of them got away, so we don't have to in any particular hurry. I would like a little bit of lunch and maybe a breather.
Sure, sounds good to me.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I could probably take a breather before I start harvesting parts.
Did you want extra healing?
For now, probably not. Maybe later.
Okay. Just let me know.
I still have some of that soup left, Witcher. You're welcome to it. Rest up a little bit. You certainly got the worst taken out of you.
Well, it's nothing unusual.
And assuming that we are taking a short rest, Milo will take his time because we have all the friggin' cooking supplies and things like that we brought along. And I actually have a thing that is relevant for this short rest, which is the use of the cook's utensils. I do have a bunch of food with us that we bought in town. And as long as I have time to prepare it, you get an extra point of healing per hit die spent when you short rest. For anyone who shares that meal.
I'll probably have some because I'm going to be spending a lot of hit dice.
Yes, so, I mean, Milo's effectively just well, let's find something that will burn. I've still got all this, stuff from, leftovers of little bits and bobs, and we'll throw something together, and maybe someone can forage something up while I'm doing this.
I can create your fire.
Yeah, I got that. I can go forage.
I mean, we also did create bonfire at the end of the last session.
That's true, There's still a bonfire going. Yeah.
Hey, mind if I rustle around and see what's in the bushes?
I would greatly appreciate that.
Well, I'm eating food and rolling hit dice, so you guys can look at what you want.
I want to edit this. I feel like we find some good stuff in the bush.
Yeah, Milo's not helping you because he's cooking, but
Yeah, you're cooking. But I mean, I rolled a 26.
Specific that you're looking for?
Sam.
What? I'm sorry.
Is there anything in specific that you're looking for?
Food. And food, like herbs and stuff.
I mean, you're in
If
a
it's
swamp.
moving, I want to shoot it and bring back meat. If it's just like a flower or something, I'll pick it and make a half decent salad. If they're like fragrance herbs, like thyme or something, I'd definitely carry that. We can try to dry it.
You might find a few like edible plants of some kind, but nothing like drastic. I mean, swamps are pretty much rotting vegetation and
Fish? Question mark.
Frogs.
probably some frogs.
Cool.
In any case, as long as we have the supplies for it, Milo is cooking up for people, and
To make some frog legs.
yeah, mostly keeping quiet. Not much to do unless someone bugs him.
I'll get back and take up my pipe.
Well, that was 7 hit dice.
I mean, I rolled 5.
I just wanted my maneuvers back, man.
I just wanted my hit points back.
Did you take your extra 1 per hit die?
I did, and I still spent
Good.
7. So, yeah, do any of you know what's valuable from drowners?
Yeah.
Lungs, they help you breathe underwater.
No, fortunately not.
Damn.
It's gonna be something gross like the brains or like the nasal mucus or something, isn't it?
Brains, generally, yes.
Lovely.
Like intact brains, or can you just like shove a needle up there and, swirl it around a bit?
Intact.
You guys
Okay.
are no fun.
Is there like a certain way to crack open the skull? Because if I have to beat him over the head with a rock to get to it, you aren't getting them intact.
Generally, if you're trying to remove a brain, if you place a dagger along the upper portion of the cranium and hit it with a blunt object, you can create a crack along top of the skull and remove from the top.
Right.
And,
Also, their tongues and eyeballs.
Yeah, those two.
and what about these? Is it just for sale? Or do they have a purpose?
Generally for sale, for proof, and for ingredients.
Well, you point where you want them, and I'll start tossing them at you.
It's probably the only profit we're going to get from this job. So, sure.
Take my dagger, grit my teeth, find the shallowest places I could reach without swimming, and just start cracking skulls.
I will assist you in that once I'm done cooking.
I mean, I realise I've just described a really disturbing and accurate way of how to crack open a skull.
Yeah, why are you cracking skulls open?
No, it's a way of cracking, like, cutting wood. Like, with an axe in, use a blunt object on the back to push through, so should work on a skull with a dagger and a blunt object. Sorry, that's a weird conversation. We'll just jump past that.
Yeah.
No, regardless of how you know, I'm impressed that you know. So continue.
So yeah, you're probably. I mean, I don't know if it matters the number, but you are able to acquire some tongues and eyeballs and brains.
Yeah, I'll note down drowner stuff on my sheet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's going to specifically ever come into play where you need to know how many brains and tongues and eyeballs you have, but
Some.
some.
Enough.
Enough to be useful for ingredients, possibly for sale. The only issue with those types of things are obviously, like tongues. You could probably keep because they could essentially dry out and become like beef jerky. But eyeballs and brains would probably not fare too well unless you like put them in like formaldehyde and put them in a jar. Otherwise, you're gonna want to use them for whatever purposes you would want to use them for, or they're just gonna rot and be gross.
Yeah, probably like temporarily just fill a jar up or two with swamp water and leave them in, just as some form of hydration.
There's a point here. If I'm cutting tongues out of like already dead things, I don't think like like undead like the drowners were described. I don't think I want to consider turning that into jerky and consuming it.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, they smell terrible already, like bloated, rotting
Some
corpses.
things may look like food, but they are not food.
Well, it's more of a case you'd probably dry it out, grind it into a powder and use it.
Anything can be food at least once.
Mm.
Just, I mean, if you're starving, I don't know how much nutritional value is in a drowner tongue, but so you guys taking a long rest or a short rest?
Short.
Sure.
And should we be on our way to find the hag, or the witch, or whoever set up these fetishes?
Probably, yeah. I would suggest that we keep an eye out for any more drowners, like you saw in the last engagement. There's always more than you see. They like to hide in the water and pounce.
Well, they weren't too difficult to take out. And I know I can use my fire.
Well, they do have an aversion to fire.
As we discussed last time, seems a little bit odd, considering that they would be wet, but are somehow susceptible to fire.
Well, it dries them out, and then they're not wet anymore.
Damn my weakness of dry skin!
I mean, maybe they're like frogs. They get too dry, they die.
Could be. And I mean, there's no, it doesn't specifically state how hot a magical fireball is, so.
It's enough to ignite inanimate objects.
But pretty hot. So, I mean, that would be cool. And that's never described, it could be like a blue flame, which is actually hotter anyway. It'd be like a blue fireball would be pretty cool.
But yeah, we should probably try to stay along the path and try and find some markings. But keep an eye out for more drowners.
So just also as a reminder, you guys were specifically looking for
Corpses,
well,
probably.
Missing people.
missing people. So there was a young teenage girl who was the first person to disappear, and then there was a family, a husband and wife, and their young daughter, and then the sister of the wife and her daughter all went missing. So it's like 6 people total.
Well, again, let's keep an eye out for any tracks and
So
Just
we
be
scouting
careful.
ahead.
Preferably, yes.
Can
Alright.
do. With any luck, they'll kill us quickly.
Where's the fun in that? You gotta struggle.
Don't worry,
So-
I'll come in and save you.
Well, looking forward to
Joy.
it.
So stealth.
It's probably best to be quiet when we can.
And
So-
for those of you that don't spend a lot of time in the swamp, I mean,
Yeah.
this is, and probably most of you don't, but it's not a pleasant place to be. It's pretty humid. Uh, it smells terrible. There are like insects and mosquitoes all over the place. So this isn't like a nice stroll through the woods or anything. Just to keep you
Yeah, this is gonna
thinking about
suck.
where you actually are.
It's gonna be difficult to walk around. It's gonna stink. It's gonna suck.
Yes, especially for the people who have very short legs.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like if Milo is up front scouting ahead with Yuffie, like he has his rapier out because he doesn't want to stick his bows in the muck, and is just like poking everything before he steps to make sure he's not gonna like sink up to his armpits.
Yeah, I'll just, if there's like a random branch that's down, I'll use that as a sticking pole. So we don't have to gross up my nice rapier.
Something is wrong with my mouse. I can't move it. So yeah, you guys can do some like nature checks and stuff like that if you'd like.
Can we use survival instead or nature?
Survival works too.
Okay.
I always
Are
have
you-
a difficult time deciding which of those is better given the circumstances anyway.
Yeah. And you want us both to make them?
I mean, she seems to be doing fine.
Okay.
With Milo's help.
Milo's is not as good.
Nope, it's
Hey.
better.
It's not as good. Let me change that emphasis.
So yeah, you guys have no issues as far as making your way through the swamp. It's difficult to, even with those high rolls, it's somewhat difficult to keep on the path. As you saw when you were crossing that sunken bridge against the drowners, it's not exactly a well-maintained sort of path because obviously it just gets overgrown and sunk, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not like there's a huge reason for people to go walking through the swamp most of the time either.
Well, a part to go missing.
So, the only other sort of thing that you're coming across now is that it's getting kind of dark. And there are obviously there are trees in the swamp. It's not like it's a full, canvas canopy where when it gets dark, you can't see anything. But
Mm-hmm. When
it
it
is getting dark.
does start to get dark enough that it's impairing vision, Milo at least would fall back to the rest of the group, hopefully getting Yuffie to do the same.
Yeah,
And just
considering Milo the brains of us two, I would definitely fall back after him.
and just be like, so yeah, I do not personally want to die falling in a hole I can't see in a swamp full of drowners. What's the plan here?
We could stop for the night and rest up.
I agree. Probably best camping up next to a couple of trees. Less chance of holes being next to him and something to put your back against.
Did you see any good spots while you were scouting ahead?
Did we?
You probably find a few places near some trees where you would all pretty have to be huddled together pretty closely, but it's enough land around there where you wouldn't just be like sitting in water.
Mm. Passable.
Also, it'd be a good idea to, even though it may expose us to different issues, to have some torches in the ground lit.
Mm. Yeah, the way I see it, there's enough things that are going to see us in the dark anyway. Certainly helps if we can see them too.
Well, I can see them in the dark, but sure.
Mm. That you can.
Yeah, one pair of eyes for a whole group ain't gonna do it, Chief.
But yeah, generally as per
Or can see in the dark.
generally, if something's coming to attack you, it doesn't matter if you have light or not. So, might as well put it up.
Fair. Makes sense to me. Come on. I know. I can show you where we found that spot. With any luck, we won't drown on the way there.
Light a torch for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, luckily we've got some torches covered in tar so they don't go out in the wet conditions.
What you need are
Yes.
citronella. You need some citronella or lemongrass plants that you can burn along with it to get rid of all the bugs. I don't know if citronella actually grows in swamps. I don't know where citronella grows actually. Lemongrass, I have no idea.
I can't answer that question.
I mean, who's an herbalist here? Does anybody have any idea?
Types of lemongrass. Oh. If this is the plant I think it is, it's probably not very common in swamps. Anyway,
Yeah,
though,
they tend to grow in dry places, hot places.
Yeah, tropical. It looks like. Well, you're just gonna get eaten alive by mosquitoes then.
hmm.
I will hide in a tent made with my anti-mosquito repellent.
You guys do have tents though, don't you?
We do.
Yeah,
So
when
that
it's
would protect you a little bit. I mean, the only issue that you really have is that even, I mean, the ground is not particularly firm, even if it's slightly drier. So you're not going to find a great hole to put any sort of tent spikes into the ground. It would work, but it wouldn't be. Your tent would probably sag quite a bit.
Actually, Yuffie, do you have the tent?
Did you put the tent in the bag of holding? Tents?
I don't have it, which means we probably did. Or we left them on our mules.
well, currently the things in the bag of holding is a megascope, fancy stuff Milo packed up from Applegate Estate, and multiple underground paintings.
Yeah, I think it's on your mule, Yuffie, because it's not on Milo or on Henry.
Let's see.
So
Did you
we
guys
don't
leave
have a
your-
tent.
You left your animals back at the the cove, right?
Yeah,
Before you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, kind of on the main road. Not really. A little off to the side.
I mean, my guy's fine just sleeping out in the elements.
Yep. Right at the bottom. Domino's got the two-person tent.
So fingers crossed that they're still there when you get back.
Mm-hmm. How tight of a squeeze are we talking for this sleep? like to not be in the water.
I mean, considering that only 2 of you are actual like regular human size, I guess it's not that much of a squeeze.
That doesn't sound promising enough.
It's just
If
us
given-
two and everyone else piled
Yeah.
on top.
Pretty
if
much.
given enough opportunity, Milo's only like 30 something pounds. He's gonna be up that tree and just like fucking tie himself into it if he has to.
He's
Yeah.
got the
some
Witcher laying
space.
on his back, and then you got the halflings curled up like cats on his chest.
Milo needs his personal space. He will go up that fucking tree and, if necessary, like use his rope to tie himself to a branch so he doesn't fall out while he sleeps.
Yeah, I mean, in this point, what would probably be helpful would be to have like a hammock. Then you wouldn't have to be, on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you guys have hammocks.
Nope.
Given the long rest,
Actually,
though,
I might
could
have a
probably-
bedroll.
Oh,
I do
yeah,
have a bedroll,
We have bedrolls.
which the rope and bedrolls, you could probably fashion a hammock if you had to.
I don't know what kind of role it would take to.
In fact, I believe I have it written down in the bedroll. Let's see. In an emergency, it can double as a stretcher, is part of the conditions for it. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
would
could,
have-
you could pretty much turn that into a
so
particularly difficult.
that said, not what Milo's first thought was. So he won't do that. So genuinely, will just tie himself to that tree to sleep.
So I even just looked. So like, this is somebody who did that exact thing. They took a canvas bedroll and
Yep.
then turned it into a hammock.
Nice.
Ooh.
I would say that would have been my thought.
Yeah.
I will totally do that.
I suppose if there is suitable space for it, because Milo's more experienced than I am, he would go for it too.
And say if I need like sleight of hand to do the knots correctly, I will totally do that.
I think most of you all are capable enough to tie knots that would hold it. I think.
Passive 14 sleight of hand.
My guess though would be that there wouldn't be enough space for all of you to hang hammocks though. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna sleep against a tree. Just like sat up against it.
Yeah, Sylvie would do the same.
As I said,
Hey man, bears.
just put some tar torches down around us at a perimeter, just to keep some form of light and sleep.
and then you can swing the hammock with the 2 baby halflings in there like they're in a crib.
God, when did I adopt 2 halflings?
I mean, I assume that the halfling bedrolls are halfling sized, so we could probably fit those up in the branches without too much trouble if we can clamber up there.
Oh yeah, we can totally clamber up there.
I'd be careful. This is a swamp. There's a good chance those branches might be a little rotten.
Oh, here I was thinking you're gonna say the trees will come alive and totally, I don't know, impale you. Ah.
No, you'd probably just break the branches and fall on your ass.
Jaguar.
Right.
Probably
Any
die
other-
from the fall, drown horribly. It'd be a miserable process.
Are there any actual living trees that could actually throw someone off them?
There are creatures like that. They generally wouldn't be found in swamps, and if there was, it'd be large enough for you to tell.
Oh, that would be interesting to see.
Ah, I'm good with my boring old tree.
You hear that, Yuffie? Sorcerer wants us to get killed by a tree in our sleep.
Yeah, I'm good.
No, that's not what I was intending. And also, if any of the branches do break, I could cast mending and fix them. Although, I mean,
would
they
be
would be
dead.
broken. You would fall off anyway.
Oh, you guys are worried about living trees? You guys should be worried about tree spirits.
Oh, for the love of... No. You
That's
go to sleep. You go to sleep. No more junk. No more magic for the day. I'm done.
Tree
Good
spirits
night.
are a whole different kettle of fish.
You're a fish. Go to sleep.
Is there a lullaby about that? When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall,
Yep.
Mm,
and down will come baby.
cradle and all. Hey. So yeah, light some torches up, set a perimeter, fucking go to bed.
Absolutely.
Are you gonna? Are you going to
Set up watch? Yes.
do watch?
Yes.
So really, only two of you can see.
Yeah.
So think of it that way.
Mm.
Spread that out how you'd like.
So I'll probably do one by myself, considering I've also got extended vision due to Witcher eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I can take first watch.
Milo will do the last watch then. Split it up. So it's a little less dark.
All right. Well, whoever's going first can roll. So as it gets dark, it does get uh, kind of loud. You hear all of the bugs. You hear
Stupid
frogs going
frogs.
crazy. The bullfrogs that are singing, but it's just really loud, and you hear what sounds like cicadas, just that droning, loud noise that is extremely irritating. And I don't know about if it's happening anywhere you guys are, but I know like in a few weeks, at least in Ohio here, we're getting the 17-year cicada swarm.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be fun.
We don't really get them here.
Oh, it's great. They are super loud and yeah, millions per square mile.
Yep.
Millions. So beyond the noises, you don't. I mean, you can't really see anything, but you don't hear anything suspicious, and you don't particularly see anything of any kind.
Swamp. Getting grumpy. Meh. Stupid tree spirits.
So whoever is next,
That
roll.
would be me.
Across the board.
So you don't hear anything, and anything that Yuffie didn't hear. You do, I guess, with your heightened Witcher senses, you do sense. I guess we better say that your medallion trembles a little bit, but not to the point where you think that something is like closing in on you, but just occasionally, just sort of like off to the side, in your periphery, you kind of get a sense of something, and then it goes away. So it's not. It's sort of almost like it's sort of like floating around you, but not like coming at you. So you get that.
I think when at the transition for the last watch, I would shake Milo.
Mm-hmm. I'm up.
There's
What?
nothing to be too alarmed about, but I have been picking up a minor disturbance now and again off to the side. Something may be watching us. Just keep an eye out.
Milo would just give a silent nod to that information and not get down from the tree, but find a more advantageous perch and have a bow drawn and ready. And perception.
Is Roran participating in any of these watches since he can see?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to participate in some watches.
So you want to join the halfling there? You can roll as well.
Oh wait, am I after the halfling? Because we're looking for 8 hours, right?
Yeah, I guess you could.
I mean, it certainly makes sense for Milo to be the very last one, since then he could maybe see something.
At the end of the
So
beginning of the morning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
or
so-
Sylvie can also help Milo being the last one, since she also can't
oh,
see.
he's gonna love that.
The dwarf doesn't really see a whole lot, and I mean, again, you just hear the noises of the swamp.
All right. Last watch come round. Especially with Sylvie up and about, Milo is not coming down. And
Yeah, I guess Sylvie will just can add to Milo's, so you can do with advantage, I guess.
which, I mean, question for the DM, is it still so dark that we would normally have disadvantage and it just evens out?
Probably, although towards the end of the watch, it's probably getting a little bit light. One of the things that you don't need a perception for is that towards the end of your watch, starts to rain. So it does stay a little bit darker than it would have otherwise because there's no sun coming up because it's cloudy and rainy.
It would be at least a muttered, well, this is typical when Milo is stuck in the top of the tree getting rained on.
So I would say that towards the beginning, or maybe maybe towards the middle, I suppose, of the watch, both of you would probably get a glimpse of something. It looks more like, just from what you could tell, it looks like some sort of light that was sort of floating around in the distance. It didn't look like natural light, and it didn't have any sort of like shape or anything. It was just sort of this kind of a maybe a slightly violet color, but mostly just sort of a white light kind of floating around.
Can we tell, like, directionality, anything like that?
From your position, it was probably to the northwest.
Going, like, in the same direction we were going, different direction?
Just kind of meandering around.
Okay.
Can Sylvie tell if it's something like magical in nature?
I mean, you both know it's not natural, and it's not like swamp gas or something.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that is supernatural in some way.
Yeah, Sylvie would look up at Milo and be like, "Did you see that?"
Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping I imagined it, but no such luck.
Did you ever see anything like that? Where are you from?
Not me.
No, I haven't either. Maybe it's a swamp thing.
Could be. Could, as long as it stays over there. But if we stay over here, it can be whatever it wants.
I guess that's true. I am kind of curious about what it is, but
I mean, if you want to go investigate, you are more than welcome to.
no. I've learned poking my nose into things where it doesn't belong doesn't result in good things happening, and I don't want to bring burden to the group.
So yeah, I mean, otherwise Milo's content to just keep an eye on it, keep watching out, wait for people to get up.
So yeah, as you all decide to, or as you start waking up, it is a steady rain at this point. It's light enough that you can see, but it is darker than it would otherwise be.
Well, did you guys end up seeing anything?
We saw a funny light that was definitely not natural.
It was off in that direction over there. Didn't seem like it was going any particular place, but figured it left us alone, we'd leave it alone.
Well, it's probably the thing my amulet was picking up.
Okay, you have my attention.
What is this? Is it like a magic item?
He'll pull out his griffin amulet. Basically, witches tend to have these, which respond to magic or monsters. The stronger the reaction, the stronger the shaking.
Oh, that's rather useful. I technically have some sort of thing like it if I use my innate magic, but I would have to, I guess, turn it on, and I don't like doing that too much.
Yeah, this is more of a. It's always on. I mean, it technically rattled a lot when we first met, but I've since adjusted it to account for that.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I do have some innate magic, as I said.
But yeah, more than likely it's probably a wisp or some form of magic to see. It's possible with the witch or hag.
I
But
mean, you can describe it to what you saw to the Witcher. He might have an idea.
Yep, Sylvie will excitedly describe said light.
I mean, from your experience, I would say that Baran would probably guess, having not seen it himself, that it's probably some type of spirit. And not all monsters or spirits are evil. And this one obviously was not attempting to harm anyone, but it would still be quite unnerving for people. But it's not necessarily something that needs to be destroyed or is going to cause people harm.
well, everyone, congratulations. You've just encountered your probably first spirit.
Oh, we did then. I wonder, can spirits talk to us? That would be very interesting.
Not in the
Milo kinda
conventional sense.
elbow Yuffie and be like, I don't know. I think we met some pretty strong spirits back a few towns ago, didn't we?
High five.
Well, not every spirit is malevolent. Some are just natural, and some are benevolent.
Some don't leave you with hangovers. That's a good start.
Yeah, some will put you on your ass for days.
This one, if it didn't really attack, and it just floated on by, more than likely it's just a spirit of nature, nothing serious.
Yeah, I don't think that this one would have given us a hangover or knocked us down. Was it?
I just love it. The Witchers just continue on with the story as the halflings are making jokes about drinks.
Yeah, immediately looks to Silver. They're talking about spirits as in the beverage.
Oh, of course,
It's
of course.
death
I
time.
yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, I was purposely in character just ignoring them.
Yeah, it's great too because the Witcher has that excuse. You know, they're supposedly stripped of their emotions. You know, and they're not supposed to be particularly funny or anything like that. So it fits. So you guys get to decide what you'd like to do next. I will say that off in the distance, now that it's a little bit lighter, because once you got to where you are now, it was a little bit dark, and you can see what appears to be a more elaborate fetish than the ones you saw in the trees.
Well, that's interesting.
Sure. Your area of expertise.
Well, if we're finding more fetishes, it means we're on the right path. I mean, I'd have to give it an actual inspection to see if there's anything different, but generally you don't just place them randomly. You place them on a trail.
Mm.
Well, for now, before we set off, let's put these torches out, re-wrap and tar them for later, and set off.
Mm.
Have breakfast, have a morning smoke. Milo, you want to know this?
Really?
Swamp
Now?
sucks. Oh, but
Okay,
the
yeah, that's
swamp
fair.
is terrible.
All right, just one.
Hey.
I'm gonna mess with the halflings.
Oh.
Yep.
Mess with in what sense?
Well, I'm gonna conjure a minor breeze right next to you.
Okay.
And it's gonna come from absolutely nowhere.
I would like to protect my flame to keep my pipe lit.
Huh. Milo at least would be like, yeah, no. Something like this is not worth the trouble. Save it for another time.
It is raining, remember?
Ah,
That's
true. Well, you can cup over it. It's doable. It's a pipe.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I am determined. This thing is getting lit.
You need help with that?
He kind of gives her a look like, don't be stepping up on me. And just kind of continues.
I could cast a flame for you.
some tar in there and smoke that too, so that it doesn't go out.
Fine, thank you.
Hey, you joke, but we picked up a lot of waterproofing stuff.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that'll be totally healthy to inhale.
Yeah, I'm not smoking tar.
Hey, it would get a job done. Maybe not the job you want it to do, but it would do the job.
I accept Sophie. Just doing her thing.
And Sylvie would grab a stick, set it on fire, use control flames to attempt to help Yuffie light her.
As soon as Sylvia's touching that thing, Milo's out. He's nope, not near me, not my problem. Getting ready to go.
Do a couple of
So-
experimental smoke rings to make sure it's really going.
Going well enough. You do have to kind of put your hand over it to keep it from going out because of the rain, but
Fight the rain. I'll punch every single drop.
If you need it lit again, just let me know. And she uses control flames to extinguish the fire, although I guess it would have extinguished itself in the rain.
so what would you guys like to do? Just walk toward, like, are you gonna just keep going in the direction of the fetish, or are you going to investigate it?
I'd
What's the plan?
probably
Investigate.
kind of like quote unquote sneak across to investigate, but not obviously like Pink Panther. Do do do.
Not anything Milo knows shit about, so he would leave it to the Witcher.
So as you get over towards it, it is actually built on kind of a stone foundation, and you can see that it's not like some rocks put on it. I mean, it's actually like carved stone. So this is something that's been specifically made, and then it is. It almost like the best way to, I guess, to describe the way that, like, the size of it and everything, and sort of the way that it's set up is it's almost kind of like a scarecrow. So it's made of wood, and it's like a long like piece of wood in the middle, and then it's kind of got like a cross beam. So like, and then there's a bunch of stuff on that. So you have like what appears to be like a deer skull and some antlers. Go ahead and do I don't even know what would be. Do a Witcher check. I mean, I don't know what the
Arcana? Investigation?
But it's really it's gonna be more about the knowledge that you already have. So it could be just be an intelligence check, I guess, with advantage because of the nature of it. Could
Yeah,
be
I
a
mean,
history check,
history,
I guess, too.
arcana,
Yeah, history
nature.
might actually be better. I don't know what
Uh,
I don't know what you'd
It's,
actually what your main stat is. I don't even know what you're good at.
it's wisdom. So maybe an insight into it, but yeah, I doubt it.
Actually, I mean, insight's not terrible. I mean, again, it's just depending on the how you want to interpret those skills.
Uh,
I mean, you could just do a wisdom check, really, if that's your.
Holy shit. Rolls are going great tonight, guys!
yeah, we've all been
So
a little low.
you're not. It's not like you're going to be able to get a whole lot of detail in this, but I would say that you do recognize because I mean, this isn't even necessarily something that you would need um, to roll for. But you would recognize that this is not a fetish that would be related to a witch or a hag or anything like that. This is a completely separate thing. This would be more akin to um, Leshens.
I'm gonna take a step back.
And you would also know that it would be this is a strange place for them because Leshens are woodland spirits. They are in the forests. You could sort of, I guess, maybe consider this kind of woodlands, but not really. So you wouldn't often find, you would probably never find a Leshen in a swamp. So that's it's strange in and of itself. One, you've been tracking what you believe to be either a hag or a witch, and the fetishes that you found previously seem to, you know, let you know you were on the right track towards that. But this is a completely separate thing.
What have you found, oh fearless leader?
Well, it seems one of two possibilities. One, this is a true and legitimate place for like a fetish for a lesson, or this is a don't come any further, go away.
What would we know about Leshens?
They
Is that
die?
something that Sylvie would have learned about or heard about in her time in the forest?
Probably.
I mean, I you purposely saw the Witcher take a step back for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Leshens can be kind of dangerous, right?
Yeah, just a tad.
Well,
But
sounds like this was a waste. Should go
but
home.
Leshens don't operate in swamps. They're forest dwellers.
Could the witch or hag from before set this up like this to scare others away? Although I guess the typical person wouldn't really know about these fetishes.
Yeah,
Maybe this was a nice place once.
it's possible, but again, this could be just a go away type of scarecrow.
Well, I mean, I didn't need a scarecrow to scare me off. All these friggin' mosquitoes would have done it.
Yeah, I'll give that definition in chat.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Also fucking terrifying.
Yeah, they are very terrifying. They also summon wolves and crows and all of the beasts of the forest. And I think I mentioned like some of the cool things that happen when you see them in the games, where you'll see them slowly walking towards you in the game, and it'll step behind a tree, and then it'll appear at a tree like 100 feet in front of it. You know, that weird sort of like passing between trees. It's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Uh,
that's cool.
yeah, generally, you stay away from lessons. the real question is, how do you all want to interpret this? We can either continue on and believing there's not one ahead, or we can turn back thinking there is.
How could you tell if it's real or not?
Well, there's no definitive way to know, but
There
generally,
is. I would say that you would know if you destroy
Have
that.
it.
If you destroy that totem, it'll show up.
yeah, then ruin your goddamn life.
But that's a way to know.
Oh, there's not a good way
Till
to
we go
know.
poke it.
There's not a good way to know.
Can we bait it by destroying the totem?
If you destroy the totem, it will more than likely kill us all.
Is it sentient?
Attempt to kill us all.
Uh,
Oh no,
no.
kill us all.
I'm suggesting that it's not an attempt.
And they are like, I suppose you would consider them sentient. I mean, they're intelligent. They're not necessarily. I mean, they're not going to speak to you.
But they're not complete fucking morons.
No. They're not mindless. You know, the creatures that they control could be. You know, they don't. I guess the best way to say is that they do not act on instinct. They do have intelligence.
But again, generally you could find these in forests, not in swamps.
I mean, we have to see if we can find the missing people, so...
Agreed. I think this is more of a warning more than an actual fetish.
I trust the Witcher's judgment here. You know better than the rest of us on these things. We'll follow you.
We'll
Yeah,
just have
come
to
on,
be on
Mr.
the lookout
Contractual.
for a skull-faced antler creature. And if you see one, just run, I suppose.
Yeah, and don't go anywhere near trees.
Wildly gestures around us.
Well, to be fair, you slept on top of one last night.
And
They have a habit of appearing right next to
tree.
trees, out of nowhere.
yeah, okay, tree adjacent is not up in the branches. I think I was fine, thank you.
And you thought I was
To
joking.
be fair, we hadn't seen this yet.
True, but you thought I was joking about the tree spirits.
No.
I'll take my chances with it over the walking fire hazard.
Oh, no, don't worry, I can control my flames.
And the only other thing that I would mention that the Witcher would probably know is that the Leshen aren't generally known to attack for no cause. So it's not like, I mean, you have to do something to cause them to attack you. So obviously, if you go into a forest that they claim to be their own and you start hunting wolves and killing things or chopping down trees or destroying their totems, then you're provoking them. But otherwise, you probably wouldn't. I mean, they're not just going to attack you because you're there necessarily. You have to kind of do something to earn their ire.
Yeah, kind of like most things in nature. You leave it alone, it leaves you alone.
Oh, then we should be fine.
So, yeah, we should probably try and continue along our way. Just keep an eye out for any more fetishes.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, we step on a twig and I'll die.
You broke my tree branch.
So if we throw the fetish at drowners and get them to break the fetish, will it come and kill the drowners?
These creatures are intelligent.
Something tells me if you move that thing, you're the problem.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
that's no fun.
Generally,
a hunch.
generally it's a solid idea, not to piss off the spirits that are ancient or powerful.
Yeah,
Well, let's get on with it.
even at your guys' level, a Leshen is probably not something that you would want to fight.
No, fuck that. I think even at a high level, you really don't want to fight a legend.
Definitely one of the more powerful creatures within the bestiary of The Witcher, which, like was previously mentioned, it was kind of cool because I mean they're large as far as the being tall, but they're not like, you know, a
Yeah.
dragon.
More
size.
like gangly large.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that, again, like we talked about how I'd like that as well, where it's not, oh well, we're high level, which means we have to fight big things. Like that's how you determine things being powerful. Is it's just big. Oh, it's a dragon, and it's like 5 times bigger than all of us, so that means it's dangerous. And anything that's the size of a human or something is like, oh well, we'll just kill that instantly. So you're you're skirting around now the totem.
Yeah.
And continuing forward.
Let's not fuck with the totem.
Yeah. So leaving it alone, I guess Milo will go back on point. Scouting ahead. With Yuffie.
Oh yeah.
Just same routine as the day before. Just like, hey, poke around, make sure we don't disappear
one
into the murk.
All right.
Creep around, watch each other's backs, try not to make too much noise. Swing back to the party if anything gets weird.
You guys can roll nature or survival checks if you like.
Sure.
Survival. Gotcha.
You can buy some Funko Pops here of the Leshen and Geralt, and it just sort of ruins the mystique.
Oh yeah.
Hey, these survivor rolls have been pretty strong from you two.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain.
So I'm actually going to move you guys to a map.
Yeah. Those and my
Yay.
secret rolls have been great. Everything else has struggled.
Yeah, so
You
far.
should be in the bottom left of this map, and hopefully everybody can see things. Now, I will tell you that there's grid lines, but there's no snap grid. So you guys are within your tokens are the size of the grids, but you won't snap to
Okay.
each square.
Okay, I see. Yes.
Hopefully everybody should see a little bit, and then the dwarf and the witcher should see more than everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is really, again, this is not so much, it's not nighttime, but it's really, because I don't really like fog of war, so this is more about really just kind of like, it's rainy, it's a little bit overcast, it's probably a little bit foggy in the swamp there, so it's really just more about you not being able to see the entire map. That's really what it's about. Because I just don't like fog of war. It's weird.
Yeah. Given how limited the field of vision is,
Yeah, we would have
Milo
fallen
would
back
probably-
to the party.
Milo would probably be about 10 to 15 feet ahead. Just enough that he can still see the party if he looks back.
I would
Right
also
here.
say that Witcher, do another. I guess in this case, probably do a. God, I just don't know. I guess do a nature check. I don't really know what the best thing is to like, for like to pull on your Witcher knowledge. Like I don't know.
Yeah, because it's a weird one. It's either intelligence or wisdom, and depends on like versions of shit.
I mean, so what is your main stat though? What is your? What is the class based on? Is it wisdom?
It is, yes.
So what's a good wisdom roll then?
I've got
Survival,
yeah.
perception, animal handling, insight,
medicine.
medicine.
Yeah.
I guess just then we'll just use straight wisdom rolls then. You can add your modifier to it though.
So 17 then.
Okay. So, given the fact that it's starting to get like foggy around here too, you would probably be able to call out to everyone to also keep an eye out for foglets.
What?
It's probably a good idea to maybe take one of those tar torches and light them.
Don't hear me complain.
Yep.
So, foglets are creatures that can kind of move in and about fog.
Yes, fog is a natural terrain, so create as much light around yourself, less chance of them completely jumping you unawares.
And yeah,
Oh, I can help with this.
and
She
foglets
does.
do move in packs. So,
Oh.
And
I
so
was
we will
hoping for, like,
create some
actual fog
orbs that
creatures.
kind of circles the party.
So let's not split up too much, okay?
We'll stay close enough to see ya.
And yeah, I was expecting like little frog creatures. These are horrid little gremlins.
they are pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like their mouths.
I don't like their rib cage shit falling out of it.
Oh, they're so cute.
Well, it looks like we got some form of a structure in that direction.
So right here, for those of you that you can see, this is another totem. It looks like pretty close to what you saw before.
Well, looks like we got another totem.
So we're on the right path then.
Appears so. Maybe you
These
want,
guys look like they suck.
do you want me to stay ahead a little bit? I've got a bit of a wider view.
Yeah, I can't see shit in this fog, so go for it.
Just
We'll back you up.
the rest of you stay close together and keep your eyes out, okay?
Sure. Definitely have my bow out.
Same.
And you can kind of see too where there's a tree there, but you can walk essentially under it. Just obviously with a 2D map, there's not much. And then there's water, so you kind of got pathways that you can walk on. And you can probably see. I don't know how far you can see, but you might be able to see something past that.
Me, I can see about up to here.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I can see to about here.
Yeah, you guys get those of you without nice vision, you get about 20 feet or so.
Yeah, I've got about 60 due to shit.
Hey, Rio.
Well, looks like we got a bridge leading to the totem on the other side of it.
Do we need silver for this, or is this an okay with a regular arrow kind of deal?
Foglets? You could probably kill them with normals.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, and maybe it's a good idea for me to. And she's going to cast her mage armor.
Looks like there is a path to go around without going in the water, so just watch your footing.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Do I hear any unusual movements in the fog?
You do not.
Yeah, I'm trying not to move too far forward, considering everyone else needs line of sight on me.
Yep.
Dwarf can see too, but
Well, we got a
At this point,
couple.
you can probably see a structure, I would assume. To
Do you
your-
mean to my right?
Yes.
I can see
Probably
something
black.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, something's blacked out, but that's just because it's a building.
But yeah, there's stuff like different patterns. I can't see directly because there's the bushes. But yeah, I can definitely see something. There's something over there just beyond the bridge to the totem. Looks like some kind of structure.
Maybe it's the whatever that is creating all these totems. So it's after the totem that we see, or I mean I don't see it.
I think I see someone in that house.
It's possible.
You
Everyone?
guys can see a house.
Yeah.
A hut of some kind.
Noise
Yeah.
not being blind.
Yeah, I've got a partial view, but I've nothing guaranteed of something in the house.
Can I running jump this this gap?
I mean, per D&D rules, I'm sure you probably can because it's about 10 feet. And jumping rules in D&D are ridiculous. Like people can jump like 1,000,000 feet.
Running long jump is your strength score. So if it's a
Oh.
10-foot gap and you got at least 10 strength, you can make it.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. And can I like attempt to stealth?
You want to stealth running jump onto a wooden platform
Not-
next to a house.
I mean, it looks like those are stairs, right? I'm assuming that there's like.
It's kind of a wraparound, I guess what you would like almost call it like a
Porch or
porch
something.
type
Okay.
thing. Yeah, so it's not it goes up a little bit, so it's off the ground. So this whole structure is essentially on like stilts, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I want to like try to land on the other side, kind of quietly, maybe do a little roll at the end, and sneak around the hut.
Okay.
Cha.
Where are you? Oh, he's gone.
So even though you can technically see into that window, you probably actually can't.
I
from
see
where
what you're
you
saying.
are.
Yeah, it's up above me.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Well, luckily I can still see him.
Okay, where the? I guess I'm looking for a way up. It looks like over here.
Yeah, so those are the steps that would go up to it.
Just scream twice if you get stabbed, otherwise we won't know.
Can I see through this window?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's another window right there, obviously.
Oh wow.
That's not
Oh.
a door. That's a window, so you can't actually
Oh.
walk into it.
It's not I can't like open it.
No, I mean you probably could. No, I mean the window doesn't open from the outside, but
Oh.
Can you all see
Yeah,
the...
but I mean I see this trail of blood.
yes, you do.
Okay.
Can you all see the bridges and the structures now?
Nope.
I see a little bit here.
Well, we're
And you
about...
see someone sleeping in that room there.
Okay. Is this a door? No.
That's
It's
window.
also a window, right?
Well,
I'll kind of like try to flag down the Witcher, like.
Oh.
or
I see something.
maybe come back to the Witcher.
Hey, there's
uh,
our dwarf.
Shh, shh, shh. There's blood trails throughout the house and a woman sleeping in a bed in the hut.
There are blood trails. Could the woman be injured or dead?
No, it looks like some sort of altar where she's probably sacrificed things.
Well, we should all...
Any signs of our bodies?
I don't see bodies, no.
You ate them.
We should all probably
Yeah,
try
probably.
to stay as quiet as possible and approach.
Yeah,
All right.
give me a second. I might be able to get her.
What?
And
Stealth mode.
yeah, can
Nope,
I
I did.
can I open this door? I'm assuming this is the door here.
That is the door there. Yes,
Who
Do I
said-
need to lockpick it or?
you would. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Like, who said anything about getting her?
So sorry, what lockpicking is sleight of hand plus
It's-
proficiency, right? With
It's thieves' tools if you're proficient with it. So Which
Oh,
I think you have to
you
add
are because
that to
you're
your.
a rogue. So
You have to add that skill. I think it's it's just your dex plus your
oh, plus
proficiency,
my
right?
proficiency bonus. Okay, yeah, so
I
it's
think that's
sleight of
what
hand
default
plus
is.
proficiency. Hold on.
Yep.
So what's our bonus right now? 3? Yeah, so just add 3 to this.
Yeah, it's not particularly.
How you pick a
powerful
lock?
lock.
Did
It
just
opened, didn't it?
did you say this was
Stay
like
here.
a higher platform?
looked more like he just wrenched it off.
I don't know if it's a good idea to be breaking into someone's home.
Is this door locked too?
It is not locked. It is-
Okay. I'm gonna open it and walk in.
This really doesn't seem like a good idea.
So the person's awake
Oh.
now that you just walked into her house.
Jesus Christ.
So you're
can
now
I-
known.
Never mind. I was gonna attempt to do something, but forget it.
You literally just broke into a house and walked into a room.
So
Hell yeah.
in this room, you also there are children in here as well, and so she's obviously going to get up and God, I don't even know what she would do because this is not anything I was anticipating that you would do.
What, breaking into the witch's house? Or at least what I perceive to be a witch?
Yes, exactly what you perceive to be. So she would just get up and actually try to like stand in front of the children and ask what you're doing here.
What am I doing here? What are you doing here?
So this is the person that you're seeing, by the way.
Surprisingly useful. Must be all the children's souls she's eating.
Or she could just have children and be a normal person living in a forest or a swamp.
So I mean,
Either way, we should kill her.
Oh no!
Jesus Christ.
so she's like walking towards you to kind of get you to back away from like basically leave this room. So are you just gonna stand there?
I attempt to grapple her.
What are you doing? I don't think this is a good idea.
I'm gonna back out. Like, it's nice to see him there, though.
I want to attempt to restrain her physically.
Given that Milo can't see enough to shoot more than like 10 feet away, he's gonna stow his bow. Because all we can do is hear things. We can't even see what's going on. And just draw a short sword.
Second
Wait at the
here.
door. Readied.
On what's going on?
Or a rapier. I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like the dwarf is wrestling a woman who's standing in front of children.
What? Why?
That sounds surprisingly unthreatening.
Because she's probably protecting someone because a dwarf has just broken into her home and walked into her room sleeping.
I meant, what is Roran doing? Why is he doing that?
As we thought it was a
Being slow
hag.
here.
Yeah, but you don't just walk in. You set up.
Mm.
You can roll whatever like if you're trying to restrain her. I just waiting for
Oh.
roll 20 to stop being stupid. On. So they're just opposing strength rolls.
Or she could use acrobatics.
Yeah. It's her choice of athletics or acrobatics against his athletics.
She's surprisingly strong. Actually,
Damn.
rolled a 22.
We
and
saw
so-
that roll,
That
Oh, yeah, so there you go.
adrenaline.
just so you know.
I mean, that's fine. It's not like I'm hiding anything.
Also, just throwing this out there since we've had a few seconds here, Milo's also strapping on his shield because there continues to be the sounds of an altercation inside.
Are we still outside of
Yeah.
combat at this point?
You are, but you were. I guess at this point you would probably need to make a strength save yourself.
Yeah, I'm kind of following Milo. I'm gonna swap out my bow for my shield and rapier.
Roran, what are you doing?
Yes, please stop him.
And if I've got another go at this, uh, do I or
I would
can I
say at
attempt?
this point, you probably she slipped out of your grasp the first time.
Mhm.
She pushed you, but you didn't really. I mean, you weren't knocked prone with your strength check. But I mean, if you guys want to just fight her, you can.
No,
But she is not.
I'm trying to inquire what the fuck Roran's doing.
The rest of us literally just can't even see what's happening.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, I'm not trying to like hurt her or anything. I'm just trying to restrain her after seeing what appears to be child sacrifices.
Roran,
Yeah, there was all the blood in the room. That's a valid point.
It's not. It's just so that you're aware, and you would have recognized it. I mean, this is not. This is this is blood stains on the floor. It is not blood like liquid
Fresh,
blood.
yeah. But I mean, there's a little skeleton on the table with like ritualistic carvings. There's a blood trail from like a small bed to the table. I want to rage and then attempt to grapple her again.
Ooh.
what the shit?
Ooh.
If Yuffie's
Oh,
going in,
Milo,
Milo's
there's
going
some
in
sketchy
first.
shit here.
If Yuffie's going in the door, Milo's going in ahead of her. Oh, hello.
Sorry for the inconvenience, but please cooperate.
Yeah, please cooperate. I've just broke into your house, woke you up, and put you in a chokehold.
Put your hands where we can see them and step out of the vehicle.
Oh, I did not set this character sheet up properly, so it's not loading.
You probably also didn't set the sheet up for combat.
I mean, I'm not trying to hurt her yet.
Your actions say otherwise.
I mean, the entire time we're walking through this forest, we're seeing fetishes, which you've said are like indications of a witch or a hag, right?
Witches aren't necessarily evil.
Sure, but we find this person. There's a bunch of children in a corner of a room, and there's blood near a ritualistic altar with a skeleton that looks like it's about child size.
Ma'am, you were being held upon suspicion of ritual sacrifice, kidnapping,
Have you
and
guys
or
have you
murder.
guys seen Office Space?
No.
Nope. I'm with Ryan on this one though. Like, had I been able to see this, I would have shot first and asked questions later.
Well, but that's why I didn't just like go in and try to like slit her throat in her sleep. It's like restrain, you know?
Yeah.
That's all. Make
Milo,
sure,
I
because if
heard
she,
words thrown around. Do you see anything?
I mean,
Say
I just
what?
don't want her starting to throw lightning at us or something.
I heard the
You
word
realize that
kids thrown
grappling
around.
someone who
Do
can
you see
cast magic
anything?
is not going to necessarily keep them from casting magic, right?
I thought it restrains them. I thought you can't use spells with somatic component or
Restrain
gestures
doesn't
if
stop
you're restrained.
casting.
Yeah,
Restrain doesn't.
assuming that
Oh,
yeah, you can't. I mean, unless you're holding their hands, like grappling is you just wrap your like yourself around that. There's I mean, there's no specific statement of like you have to when you're casting a spell that requires you to move your hands that you have to like wave your arms around or anything. I mean, like if you think like at least in the
no,
video games like The Witcher, like it's a hand sign. You use your fingers. You don't have to move your arms at all. So
no. Well, I know what you mean. I just thought like I guess D&D rules wise, the restrain condition prevents you from casting spells with gestures. No, or am I
It
just
does
mistaken?
not. I've
Oh.
got my DM screen up in front of me.
Never mind then.
Just because that's where I play at anyway.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still restraining her.
reduces their speed to 0, and attack rolls against them have advantage. Their attack rolls have disadvantage, and they have disadvantage on dex saves. That said,
Okay.
grappling doesn't even cause restrained. Grappling causes grappled, which is just their speed is 0.
Yeah, I think I'm like mixing up some Pathfinder stuff in my head or something.
Could be.
I don't know.
The Roll20 is completely broken for me right now. I can't do anything.
Try reloading yours, because mine's still running fine.
Yeah.
It's just the character sheet is blanked out, and I can't do anything with it. So
Yeah, but also the fact that she kind of managed to fight me off the first time is
A little sketch.
well, yeah, it's more affirmation in my mind that something's wrong here.
okay, so I mean, she's not going to be to 30. So you have your arms around her.
Maybe we can ask questions nicely. I mean, I still don't really see what's going on, but I don't like this.
You Witcher, tie her up.
Why would we need to tie her up?
So she
Yeah.
doesn't start throwing fireballs like someone.
Roran, let her go.
I will stare you down.
Yeah. Since Milo's in the room at this point, that would be look at the Witcher, look at the table, look back at the Witcher. What?
Milo,
Crawl
tie her up.
under the table.
I
Yeah.
don't really know the situation.
Yeah, Milo's okay with this. Milo will help.
I would like to crawl under the table to get around and figure out where the supposed kids are.
The kids are in the room behind her.
So yeah, I mean, Milo's got rope. So if Roran's holding this person in the super sus place, like Milo's going to try to tie her up.
Can I push past her?
I mean, you're a halfling. You don't need to.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
move through their spaces, no problems. They can't stop us.
I'm trying to look for.
I mean, I don't have tokens because it was difficult to put like children tokens. Also, I didn't want
Mhm.
to come out. I didn't want to like every piece of art for children is always terrible. So I didn't. There
I have
are
exactly one that I use for every child in every game I DM for. That's like passable.
there are 3 young children there.
Okay.
And there is a cat on the bed. There's actually I'm keeping that on there because there's actually a piece of art, like it's drawn on there on the corner, like a
Nice.
little kitten. And so she is actually just staring daggers at all of you, but she is not saying anything, and she's not resisting you trying to tie her up either.
Okay.
All right. I'd be like, hey,
then
hey. We're
one-
here to rescue you. Well, we think we're rescuing you.
So the children are all probably under the age of like 4.
So they're not really verbal.
Yeah, not really.
Human kiddos?
Yes.
Cool.
You,
Is there
and you will
a-
recall that you were only looking for 2 children, but there's 3 here.
Is there a chair somewhere nearby? I want to put her in a chair, not back in her room.
Mm.
Probably. And also, like, again, you work with what you can. So there's like cobwebs on this, and those would not be there. I'll say that you guys, as you are looking in this room or this little hut, aside from this sort of like this scene of strangeness with the blood and all that kind of stuff, the house itself is it's quite cozy and warm. You get when you walked in, there was probably a very strong smell of like herbs and things like that. So, I mean, this doesn't strike you as like some torture den or anything like that. I mean, this does seem like a home. The table obviously is a bit unnerving, but aside from that, it seems like a pretty nice place actually.
I'd like to
And so,
inspect
like-
the kids.
So we'll probably say that the chair is like in this corner over here.
Easy enough.
Right. Yeah, I'll
I'm
put her
gonna-
down.
And
The
Sylvie's just hovering at the door, being like, I don't like this, I don't like this.
Milo's gonna make sure that she's fucking tied to the chair as well.
Yeah, I'll
I'd like to inspect
50
the
feet
kids
of rope
for
to work
any-
with.
I'll
for
let
any signs of
Sylvie
abuse
go
and
in.
malnutrition.
Like this at all.
Well,
Uh,
have fun
sorry,
with
what was
that.
that?
The condition of the children is that they all look perfectly happy and healthy.
Aside from a bunch of weirdos breaking in their house.
Yeah, and so like when you would walk in, like they were, I guess more than anything that kind of surprised you is that like normally when you have like little children, obviously if a bunch of strangers kind of like break in and stuff, they would like sort of cry and be sort of like upset.
Yeah.
As would be expected, but these kids actually seem to be like they're like playing, like they've got like wooden horses and stuff, and they're just sort of like seemingly not paying it much attention. And when they see you, they kind of look up and smile.
Oh, I smile back at him.
Look up. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You
not
two, I
often I'm
point.
taller than a human.
Yeah, we're eye level.
I point to Sylvie and Baran. Can you discern what was going on here? And I'll point to the table with the book and the skeleton.
Hey, the kids are in good condition, so it's like no abuse going on here. This lady is either killing them quick or she's not that nefarious. In which case, we made a huge mistake.
I believe we've made a huge mistake. Breaking into a house, it's not right.
And she probably has not
Milo.
stopped staring at
Yeah.
Roran. I mean, she's not saying anything, but she looks like she's not happy. We'll say
Alright,
that.
Well, if Sylvie's gonna sit there frozen, then Roran will go up and try to thumb through the journal or whatever that's on the table and figure out, or well, read it and try to figure out what's going on.
I think that we should just let the woman go and talk to her like civilized individuals.
So if you're flipping through the book, it appears to be somewhat of like a bestiary, right? So there's descriptions of creatures and notes about their anatomy and things of that nature. So it really is more about. It seems to be kind of a field guide or something about various creatures.
Sylvie, can you see what this diagram is for?
I'm not talking to you until you untie her.
How have you survived this long? I'll look at her, like with my head tilted, inquisitively.
I think it's nice to be able to talk to someone normally without having to restrain them like that. For all you know, she was just a mother trying to take care of her kids away from cities, towns, etc.
Yeah,
Wildly hand gestures to the table and the bloodstains and the small bed in the corner.
Well, they could have been dissecting or using animals to cut up, and she just starts rambling on about ceremonies involving what do you call it? Sacrificing animals, rituals, etc., etc., etc.
And that may very well be the case, but I just wish to make sure before I give them an opportunity to stab me in the back.
Or you can just think positive about others. Trust in all.
Sylvie trying to explain away the ritual circles of blood. Milo is
Well,
now just like,
she like where she grew up. I mean, this
yeah,
probably
no,
isn't something that she would.
totally. But Milo at this point is now like, all right, it was already like half ready to stab the lady in the chair. Is now just like kind of eyeballing Sylvie too, of like, do we need to stab two people today?
Are
Yeah.
humans always this dense? God damn.
Yes, that's why we shoot them so much.
I don't like that insinuation.
Ah, well, we don't really like you.
Okay, Sylvie, if you can determine what the magic circle is for on the table, we can clear this up very quickly, and then I will let the woman go and I will compensate her for the trouble.
Promise?
I promise.
No crossing fingers.
Oh, for the love of God. A
I
nice
promise,
older
Sylvie.
lady.
Okay,
Are you the
fine.
one kidnapping and killing people? That is why we are poking around. Are you the cause of all the dead fish and the scary moose man?
Raises an eyebrow about the scary moose man thing. But she says, I haven't killed anyone.
Insight
Oh.
that shit.
And Sylvie just says, "There you go."
Absolutely.
Can I help Milo with his insight?
I
There's
know.
not really,
well, I guess
it's not
that
really,
doesn't
there's not really
seem
an
like-
assistance
yeah.
on an insight. It's
I would
whether
like
or
to roll
not
my
you.
own
Yuffie is
insight
better at it
and-
anyway.
And I hear you.
Not
I
really.
said that, and I was like, wait a minute, you can't really.
That's
assist-
sad.
You basically, you're like, I think she's like, are you sure she's lying? You know, I mean, there's not like an assistance really,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
I mean, she is, and this is always what the DMs say when somebody rolls insight. She's very hard to read, but she is. I mean, she has a deadpan look on her face where you couldn't tell any emotion from her at all at this point, aside from looking at her eyes where she looks violent at the dwarf.
I don't trust her.
Sylvie just crosses her arms and looks over the altar and book and stuff and tries to determine why this is here.
Have you used any fresh corpses to be painting shit on the walls and whatnot?
I mean, aside from the table's really the only thing that looks a little bit creepy. And Baran, what is exactly what you're looking for?
So it was this one here to the first one, and this one here. I just want to confirm something.
So the first thing is just like a natural sort of like growth of like mushrooms and stuff. But the second one is it's similar. It's the same totems that you'd seen previously. And you can do Sylvie, you can do like an Arcana check.
Okie
Is it possible I could make an intelligence or an insight roll of the purpose of all these totems surrounding the hut?
Yep.
I'll do an insight because I've got an idea what it might be, but I'm probably wrong.
So with the Arcana roll, you're more it's not any sort of like this doesn't appear to be some sort of like I guess I don't know how to describe it. The magic circle under the skeleton doesn't appear to be like it certainly isn't the cause of the death of this creature. It is more of a I guess the best way to describe it would be like it's like a research circle. It's something used to discover the type of magic. It's using magic to determine a type of magic. It's kind of like it's almost like a detect magic spell, but it's a little bit more advanced than that, I suppose.
Like an identify, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But it's designed to like identify the type of magic that may be housed within this, with whatever you put in the circle, basically.
Yeah, so then Sylvie would be like, well, this circle seems to help with the identification of the magic potentially used against the thing on top of it. And judging by the bestiary beside it, that's also used in identification, probably this woman is trying to figure out also what's going on in her swamp. So perhaps it is time to untie her.
You also, if anybody wants, you could attempt to inspect the actual. It's a skeleton that's on. It's in the
I mean-
circle. It's not a creature.
How
Well,
big of a skeleton are we talking?
Sylvie will check it out.
It is child-sized.
How do you explain the children? Then,
Halfling
Sylvie?
sized.
Yeah, I will definitely go over and investigate.
I am standing guard by the lady, still ready to stab the shit out of her, so I will not.
The insight for Baran, I mean, I would say that at the very least, even though you didn't specifically state what it was, but you would assume that these were deliberately placed by someone, but these don't appear to be true Leshen especially because of the stones underneath.
Yeah, this is more of like warnings or stayaways, just to scare people off.
Because because a true Leshen totem wouldn't they wouldn't put the stone like a Leshen in themselves would not put down the stones, like because that it's the stones are like ornate essentially, and they would obviously the Leshens would not do that. They would they're a lot of times their totems are somewhat hidden. They're like placed with like in bushes or near trees or things like that, but they're not Leshen don't specifically use them. They don't put them out in the open necessarily for people to come across. And I mean, they at times could use them as warnings as well, but oftentimes, I mean, they are in some sense, I guess you could consider them places of power for them. So they don't necessarily want them out in the middle of the open so that somebody can just come by and knock them over and destroy them. So these don't appear to be true Leshen. I mean, the totems themselves do appear to be the types that Leshens would create, but the rest of it is weird.
Yeah, that's right.
And Yuffie, you were investigating the skeleton.
Yeah, I was looking to see if it was an actual child or if it's like a halfling or what the fuck is up with it.
I mean, it's probably more so a medicine check, I suppose, if you want to know that assuming you could tell the difference between like the bone structures of humans and halflings and things of that nature.
Sylvie will do medicine check.
Yeah, say I'm not proficient with medicine.
I guess I mean the best you could say is that it's hard to say. It doesn't look exactly like a human child or a halfling.
Mm. What does the skeleton look like? Are there any like deep fissures? Are there signs of
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the
like
investigation on
porous?
that. So like, yeah, you don't see any. So like, obviously, if you were scraping muscle or off of bones, a lot of times you would see like, cuts and gashes on the bones, and you don't see any of that. Um, the skeleton itself appears to be pretty much intact. Um, like the bones themselves also all appear to be intact. They don't appear to be like snapped and put back together or anything. I mean, like,
Mm.
um, it appears to be a pretty pristine um, skeleton. And I think that I don't know that there would be any like obvious things that would make it appear different than like a human being. I would say just the shape, the biggest thing that you would notice, I would think, would be like the eye sockets of the skull appear to be quite a bit bigger, or at least I won't say quite a bit, but they do appear to be larger than you would see on either a halfling or a human being.
You think this is one of those scary fog things that Theo was talking about?
Possible. Although the woman is obviously trying to identify what it is, and perhaps if we untie her, she can help us. Now she's also glaring at Roran.
I want to go look at the kids. You said that they're just like sitting there playing contently while all this is going on.
Yeah, I already gave them a once over. They're pretty good.
That's quite weird.
Do shit. I don't know. Uh,
There's no maltreatment, no malnourishment. They're a little too small to be really talking yet.
would
But
it like how strange is it that the kids are fine during a home invasion? Like, is that something that would
Set off some
like
spidey senses.
I mean,
yeah?
it's probably seems a little bit weird, but it's I mean, it
this
really
is a
just
gross
depends
ass,
upon.
spooky ass bog, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, you can't really judge like necessarily the temperament of children. I mean,
Can I? So this is gonna sound weird. Can I try to intimidate the children?
No.
You certainly can, yes.
This is going strange places.
Am I still
approve.
raging?
I think it's been long enough that it probably would have faded at this point.
It
Okay.
fades within 6 seconds unless you are attacking things. So
Yeah, no, I'm trying to scare children. And I just like scream and hit the wall suddenly to see how they react.
I'm gonna scream and hit you.
So yes, they do. They all like run to the sort of the corner, and they don't cry, but they do look terrified. And they all kind of like huddle into the corner. But they aren't crying, but they do absolutely look terrified.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in front of him, roaring, shame on you.
Yes,
I
Baron,
don't
can you
care if they're
please?
human. You get back.
Look, I was just making sure they weren't
No.
like drugged or
No,
something.
these are the same age as my Karen, my Carissa, and my Aaron. You stop.
Look, for all we know, she had them drugged and they didn't even know what was going on.
Oh, I'm gonna drug you something hard. Hold up my
Whatever.
fist.
Grumble, grumble. I grumble and I'll put
Very
some
good.
rations and 5 gold on the table before walking out.
I'm gonna check with them, make sure they're okay. Stupid dwarves.
GM, is it possible for me to have a look around for any, not wouldn't say Diameridium in particular, but any fetishes or concoctions to hide the presence of magic?
You can do an investigation, okay? Just as a side note, you can go ahead and do that. But I honestly think that intimidation roll is like one of the first times I've had an intimidation roll in my games. Like that's just not a thing that people generally do.
I am rolling fucking shit.
That's funny. Your first intimidation roll in a game is a scary barbarian dwarf trying to scare a few children.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, it certainly is like whenever you want to do anything, there's a certain cost to making intimidation checks in that even if you succeed, people won't like you.
Right.
Whereas deception and persuasion, if you are successful, at least have no ill effects. And persuasion often, even if you fail, it doesn't hurt anything.
I will say, Witcher, you don't notice anything specifically intended to mask magic, but or use any sort of masking magic. But upon entering the hut, your medallion definitely would have registered magic.
Well, I think it's time to untie her.
Well,
The dwarf agreed to your terms.
the
I mean,
There-
I'm waiting till the Witcher's done.
I identified what was on the table. He went and scared some children, put the money on the table, so I assume that it's all done. He promised we can now untie her.
everyone,
When you-
when I walked in, my medallion sensed magic. Take a breath. Everyone stop. Now, Milo, untie.
You're all crazy, you know that? But he will start untying.
Can I just quickly inspect the corpse? Because I think it's a foglet. Especially with the increased eye sockets.
Yeah, you can do that.
So it'll be in medicine. Something higher than an 11!
Yay!
I would say you probably you're okay. So it's not a foglet. You probably have killed foglets before, and even if you look at like the pictures that I showed, their skeletons would not be in this good a shape. Like usually their rib cages and stuff would be torn to pieces, and so this is definitely not a foglet. With a 24, I would say you would guess with maybe 75% certainty that this is probably a godling, which do look like children.
So, I apologize for our rude entry. May I ask your name, please?
She kind of looks at all of you very annoyed, I suppose. Um, she says, "Well, people have called me many things, but I suppose you can call me Ethel."
Ethel. I'm Riadref Baran, a witcher.
My name's Sylvie. I'm very sorry for our dwarf and halfling companions. Except for Euphemia, she seems to really care for your children's safety.
I'm just confused why there's a godling on your table.
And she I don't want to say that she looks necessarily surprised, but she almost looks somewhat pleased that you kind of recognized that. Um,
Well, that
she's-
and all the fake totems surrounding the hut.
yes, well, that experiment didn't go quite as I was hoping, but as far as the godling is concerned, it was a friend of mine, and she kind of just trails off.
That's how you treat your friends. I'd hate to see how you treat your enemies.
She then kind of gives you the same stare, like she
Oh,
would like to
Milo,
stab you in the
like
face.
he may have just cracked funny, but he still looks like he's gonna stab her like at any second. She's up, but he is not okay with this.
I assume you're a witch, correct?
She sort of chuckles and says, "Well, that's what people call me, sure."
We're currently looking for a bunch of people who have gone missing recently in the area. 6 in total. You have to understand that finding a hut in the middle of a swamp, surrounded in fog, and, well, spirit totems, and it can make certain individuals jumpy.
She just kind of shrugs a little bit. "I assure you I haven't killed anyone."
Do you have any idea where 6 people may have disappeared to in this swamp?
He kind of chuckles, is like, "Well, my assumption would be that you didn't get here unaccosted, and you all seem quite capable. Most people aren't quite so capable."
True, but considering we've found fetishes all the way up close to the road, it seems like something drew them in.
Well, and she kind of looks at Sylvie for a second and says, "Some of you may be aware that some of the," and she kind of pauses for a second, says, "the common folk put those fetishes out there when they need assistance from a witch. Of course, after they get that assistance, they're more than happy to cast us out or attempt to kill us in some way, but boy, when their cow won't give them milk, they sure do want to get our assistance."
Yes, that is actually true. A lot of fetishes were left for Auntie Etta.
And so some of the so Sylvie would know this, and the Witcher might know a little bit about it. Is that, you know, the so like hedge witches and witches that like would sort of live in swamps and things like this, and a lot of times that they would be driven to live in the swamps because people would try to kill them. But some of them would have like live in villages for a little while or outside of a village, and they have like There's also male versions, like called pellers, where people will go and they will ask them to do things like, like our cow won't give us milk, or our harvest is bad, or whatever it may be. So they would go to witches, and sometimes, depending on the area, like in Skellige, would be more likely to be druids, to make it rain and all those kind of things. So they would go to them to ask for assistance, or my child is sick, or any of those things where use your magic to help us. And then if those things go sour, or that maybe they fix it, and they're like, oh, this witch is great, and then they would, you know sometimes the witches would themselves tell the people to like put out uh the totems and the fetishes and stuff. And a lot of times it's more just for show, and just to kind of you know play along with the mystique of it all. Kind of take two aspirin and call me in the morning type of stuff, where you're just doing those things to kind of appease them and to live up to the expectation that people have of you. But then when those things don't stay that way, where the cow stops giving milk, or the crops don't grow, or whatever it is, then that's when they turn on the witches and the druids, and drive them out or try to kill them, or those types of things. So, yeah, it all makes sense, the things that she's saying.
Yeah, because it would be the same for sorceresses, witches, and witches. You're welcome as long as you're useful.
And then if they feel like some sort of bad omen or some bad thing has happened, then they'll blame the witch. And so you end up, a lot of them have to live out in places like this, or they have to move around, because the second that something goes bad, then they're forced to leave, or all those fun things. And most witches in general find the work in assisting them to be tedious anyway. But you do what you have to do to survive in this world. So you get the impression that this woman has probably been driven out at some point. Why she's living out in a swamp.
And it appears that at least some of the people here are concerned that the children in the room aren't reacting how they should.
They probably know Ethel will protect them from whoever enters. Witches are rather strong.
Why don't they talk?
She sort of just
Milo, they're not
stares.
even 4.
Yeah, she stares at you and says, maybe you shouldn't.
Look, clearly some people here got a little ahead of themselves, and
Very, very ahead of themselves.
I apologize for that. I understand what it's like to be on the outside. Would it... There's nothing really we can offer as a real apology.
Oh, I do have something that you might enjoy, actually. And she pulls out the... what do you call it? The witch's doll. Perhaps this will come up some use to you, and you can take it as a token of apology.
She smiles warmly at you and says, it would probably serve you more than me. I have no plans of leaving this place.
Well, thank you. I did find it rather interesting when we found it. Never tried it before, though.
Well, now that we're no longer at each other's throat, Milo.
And when you say that, she stares down at Milo.
Oh yeah, does not give a shit that Baran is saying that. He's still holding the course.
You act like this towards my Auntie Ada, you would not be living right now. She's not a happy woman.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure the only reason he's alive and Roran is alive is because she didn't fight back.
You see the slightest bit of a smile on the corner of her mouth when you say that.
She is being rather tolerant.
I hope you don't find me too rude, obviously making a request after everything that's happened. But, could you point us out to some areas in the swamps where people may have got lost? We may be able to do something for you in return.
You see that she kind of sighs and says, "You won't find anything. People come out here and get lost all the time, and their bodies are returned to the swamp."
Well, to be fair, we all pretty much assumed that, but it was worth asking. I mean, I'm still slightly curious about the godling, but
She points to the book and says, "Well, have a look. You may find it interesting."
uh,
Given your
Oh, I
profession."
wouldn't mind actually. And Sylvie turns around to poke at the book.
yeah, I'll have a read as well, considering I know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it really is in a lot of ways similar to the types of books that Witchers would study. I would say that there are a few things that you see in there that are probably based on your training. You would believe them to be inaccurate. Whether or not you want to point that out is up to you, but nothing like glaringly like bad. I mean, you do see that she makes mention of some of the superstitions that people have about certain creatures, and you get the idea that like her notes and stuff are she's trying to figure out what's true and what isn't about the old wives' tales about these creatures and things like that. So it is sort of a like I said, it's her own personal notes about various creatures. So you see that she does have entries on foglets and godlings, and you get the impression that she was purposely trying to lure a Leshen here, and that's what those totems are for. Because you can see that she does have an entry on Leshen, and she's got notes. I mean, it's sort of it's kind of a diary, but then you see that there are specific notes that she's taking about these things. But you see that she makes note of the fact that she's been unsuccessful in trying to get a Leshen to show up.
Well, there's a couple of inaccuracies in here about a few of your entries, but the main one about the Leshen, you've clearly missed the point.
Well, it was worth a try.
No, you're using stone. Leshens don't use stone.
Kind of nods as oh, okay, well, I'll make note of that.
Why would you want
So
to
you
lure a
were trying
Leshen?
to do the scary moose man.
Well, I have no intention to harm it, but
Study.
And I believe that if I pose no threat to it, then it will not harm me. However, I had concerns that it would not appear in this place, and I feel that maybe, aside from possibly making my totems incorrectly, I'm not sure it would have come anyway. Which kind of
No,
seems disappointed.
generally they're more forest dwellers, but the totems wouldn't use stone. But I see you trying to find the truth behind a lot of these old wives' tales.
Well, it's just in my line of work helpful to know, considering all of the stupid things that people ask of me.
Well, we know something, or I can offer you something as reparations for how we first met.
And she just kind of looks at you expectantly.
I can, one, correct some of these inconsistencies, and two, if you have questions about other things, I could answer them for you.
She just kind of nods a little bit. And aside from that, is there anything that you would like from me? And she kind of stares down at Milo again.
Mm-hmm.
As if the
Yeah,
entire
if you're purposely trying to lure things, then would there be anything that would go out of its way to hunt down things on the road, wander near and far, despite your attempts to bring it here?
I'm sorry. So what were you? I missed the first part of what you said.
Is there anything that you're trying to lure here that would ignore you and go after more populated areas?
The Leshen was the only thing that I was attempting to lure here.
Hmm.
And I failed, so I assure you that any dangers are not caused by me.
well, considering the atmosphere in the room has at least changed for four of the people and not the one in the centre, I'll
Yep.
put my hand on Milo's shoulder. I think it's time you understand it's no longer required.
Milo will put up his sword. It's been enough time here of just idle conversation. Although, look, I don't care if she's the one killing people around here. Frankly, more power to her. I just don't want to get turned into something or end up on that table. So, if you're having fine with this, you're okay with all the weirdness going on, more power to you.
I'm sorry we harvested drown the brains, eyes, and tongues literally on the way here. She's literally doing the same thing with different creatures.
And she will look down to you, Milo, and in halfling, she will say, I don't dissect halflings.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Ooh.
yeah, that caught my attention.
That is a big attention grabber. That not wanting to acknowledge that to anyone else here beyond like the basic like okay, that's a nod and Milo would depart at that point because people are chatting about stuff he doesn't understand and has no reason to keep hanging out in a dangerous spot.
Continue to stay in the house because, well, kids that's young are very impressionable. If I can make a good impression of halflings onto them, that will hopefully curb their future of doing fucking hate crimes.
Well,
And I guess Sylvie would just be excitedly, animatedly chatting to her about witches, potentially about covens and witches, and her Auntie Etta, as she calls her.
well, there's an opportunity here for you, Sylvie. We could
Yes,
render.
I've never met another witch before besides Auntie Etta.
She would also, and this is something that if any of you are still participating in the conversation, something that you had actually heard rumors of previously, she would make mention to not go anywhere near Crookback Bog, which is the other place that was one of the two places that you were, because you had heard rumors that there were witches that were granting miracles for people in Crookback Bog, and she, without prompting from any of you, specifically tells you not to go there.
Any specific reasons, or just don't like them?
Well, if you would prefer to not be dead, that would be the reason not to go there.
What? Coven or hags?
Well, a number of years ago, they killed a bunch of children there, and there was a big to-do with all sorts of things, but they are something more than witches. In fact, I had previously believed that they were dead, but
Well, I appreciate the warning. Thank you. While we're here in the swamp, is there anything you require?
she just sort of like smirks a little bit and says, "Peace and quiet."
Don't we all?
I'm not gonna specifically do it in character, but she would elaborate a little bit as far as um, the what she was warning you about in the Crookback Bog, is that they were, according to the people in the general area, they called them the good ladies. Um, However, Ethel refers to them as the crones. Um, yeah, if you played The Witcher 3, you know the ones that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going for.
So there was a village near the Crookback Bog that basically everyone just disappeared one day. So they had various. They were called the Good Ladies. They were called the Ladies of the Wood. They were called just the Ladies. Some people called them the Crones as well. And they had names, though nobody knows what they were. But yeah, there were knights who came to fight them, and even rumored to be a witcher who showed up to fight them. But that was a number of years ago, and for up until recently, they were gone, and I can't remember the name of the town off the top of my head. I have it written down somewhere, but I can't. That's one of the things that I was looking for earlier that I couldn't find. But I think it's called Down Warren. Actually, it might be what it was called. I may be misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But anyway, so there was a community, a village that worshipped these ladies, and offered them their ears as sacrifice, so they would cut their own ears off. And so there was there were a bunch of children that lived in this village, or in the bog itself, and there was rumors that the crones ate the children, and that's a rumor that is not. People always say that about witches, is that they eat children. That's just a superstition or whatever. But anyway, she's specifically stating that these crones are extremely dangerous, and if they have indeed returned, that you should go nowhere near there.
I appreciate the warning. Forgive me for the rude question. Are the children yours, or are they drop-offs from the locals? As in, they can't look after them anymore.
And she kind of smiles at the kind of the idea that you would phrase it that particular way. But she makes mention that she does say that one of them was sent out into the swamps by their parents, and that two others were essentially lost in the swamp, and she took them in.
Yeah, so I didn't want to, especially within earshot of the children. Oh, are you just taking in abandoned children who weren't wanted by their parents anymore?
So that is a thing for everybody else. That's actually even a thing that happens in the game, where they're like, oh yeah, they would lead them to follow the trail of like candy to the witch's house. And basically it was just, we can't afford these children, we can't afford to feed them, so they would send them off into the woods to die. So that's a thing. Again, this is not a this world is not a happy place. So
That's why I kind of scoff at Sylvie's naivete.
but I guess it really all depends on your. So I will say that. So just to clarify, because there is obviously we've already sort of like got things mixed up because we had to, at least for the rule set. So within the Witcher universe, the hags are not like hags in D&D, where you would like eat a baby and then birth them and make them hags on their 13th birthday. I think that's what it is, right? In D&D, like I think that's what it's supposed to be, where like they take children and they eat them and then they rebirth them as a copy that will then become a hag themselves, and that's how they like form covens. That's not what happens in The Witcher. So witches don't do that, hags don't do that. They don't actually eat babies.
I mean, the common folk without that knowledge may think they do.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, the crones are do actually, I think within that they do actually eat those children in that place. But the crones are something else beyond just like, they're not just like they're not like
Yeah, they're old.
Sylvie's aunt or
It's
anything like that. They're not. Yeah, the crones are something else. They're not witches. They're not hags. They're their own sort of strange, weird thing. But hedge witches and basically human beings that are witches, like Sylvie's aunt. They don't have to be necessarily be human beings. Like any of the races can be witches, but
well, before I leave the two ladies here to continue speaking with you and the children, a word of advice: if you do manage to summon a Lish, make sure the children don't knock over the totem.
just kind of nods at you.
The last thing you want is to make it angry. And I'll just smile and nod, start heading outside.
And Sylvie will just say, well, thank you for taking the children, and I at the very least know how the abandoned one feels. It's great to know that there's other witches like Auntie Etta who will take children in.
And she smiles and kind of gives you a motherly sort of like, she kind of like just puts her hand on your shoulder. And I would say for Yuffie, the cat has gotten up and is sort of like winding around your ankles, more like your legs, I guess, because it's kind of short. But
Lots of scritches.
And thank you for allowing us to speak, even though you had a very rude awakening.
and she smiles a little bit and says, "Well, if I had actually felt threatened, I would have possibly done something more." And she just kind of smirks a little bit. You know, just you get the idea that she's kind of joking, but probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll just smile and be like, well, I suppose it's time for us to head out, Yuffie?
I charge back in there and stab her.
That sounds like something you'd do.
Say that
Shane,
really
you're
loud out the
muted.
window to make sure you heard that. If I really felt threatened, yeah.
You want to go, hag?
I hope that your
Um,
character actually smokes cigars, just because I like the character art of your guy with like a cigar in his mouth forever.
Whatever the equivalent would be, yeah. Do they have cigars in The Witcher?
I imagine they do.
Probably.
I don't think that they specifically ever show anybody smoking. But I think that I know that you can pick up pipes and stuff as like, junk that you pick up all in cabinets and stuff. Like all RPGs, you walk into somebody's house and take all their stuff. I know that you can get pipes and stuff, so obviously there is smoking. So I don't think they ever show anybody smoking cigarettes or anything like that. But
Yes, maybe just a nice pipe.
because
yeah,
actually,
guess
I
on
take
the
that
way
back
out.
though. I think that image that you have might actually be from The Witcher.
Really?
I think it might be. It's a cool picture though. It's a cool dwarf.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So, yeah, was Milo saying anything? Because
Nope. He was out already, gone, outside. So
Yep. Like on the way out, just be like, haven't had a good run with humans, but I think the magie stuff kind of puts you outside the norm. Sorry for the interference
and
and halfling and
yeah, and in Halfling back she'll return or stay back, to take care of your friend.
gives a sharp nod, wave, calls back in common. You have lovely kids.
Thank you.
Well, it doesn't look like we're gonna find those people, so it may be a time to head back out the swamp.
There's the picture if you guys want to take it for something else. The JPEG.
It is a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it actually fits your character really well too, because I mean, he's got the knife, and for like the rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be the case. I'm not sure how we'll even attempt to find them in such a large swamp with so many things that could have gotten them.
No, fortunately, I don't think we will find them. So, unless we can make some coin from selling these drowner parts, probably best if we just leave.
So where would
Orin?
you guys like to go?
mm,
Definitely out of the swamp.
Probably go back to the town and just let them know what's going on here, right? Tell them not to send other people.
Or just warn them that, it's a swamp, and there were drowners, so people die in the swamps.
there were a few specific tasks that we were given by the witch's lodge.
Yep.
Oh, were there?
Those would be the only ones that Milo gives a shit about doing.
Do you
Because
remember what they are?
his whole goal is still, let's do these so I don't have to do this shit anymore. I have them in my notes somewhere.
They're
It's-
also actually in the loots and items under
Ah,
request.
thank
from
you.
the lodge. There were those ones, and then something about the other town where the guy had gone after doing the things in the underground place.
Yep. And
Actually,
the
I'm gonna
things in the
take this.
underground place would not be high on his priority list because it wasn't part of the initial request. So just requests from the lodge would be the things he cares about.
Well,
Oh,
yes,
But Sylvie could go to the beach if you go down there, because you could go to Beauclair. Because it's Gwyndeath was where you guys were.
Also, with, I'm sure, plenty of travel to skip through ahead of us in some respects before we do anything either way. Milo is livid with like literally everyone
It's like
except Rorik.
shaking. Like,
Yes, it's just like even Yuffie is like not really talking to her. It's just like, nope, this is absolutely unacceptable.
on a side note, I just did a reverse image search of that dwarf. It's not a Witcher one. It's actually someone on DeviantArt who created it for D&D. One of their. So there you go.
Wow.
Oh, Milo, seems you have an issue. Care to bring it up to the group?
No. Clearly decided where we're going, what we're doing. I just want to get this over with.
Fair enough, but if you don't remove that broom from up your ass, it'll get really uncomfortable.
Doesn't have a broom in his butt.
Figure of speech.
I do like how she refrains from swearing.
It means
It's
he has.
amusing to me.
Yeah, it's more of a figure of speech that he has an issue that's causing him to be like this.
Oh, you know, my Auntie Etta always said to talk about feelings.
Yes,
It goes a
Milo.
little deeper than that.
Look, let's just get this over with, right? We've got jobs to do still, things to get done. We got to work with each other either way, so let's just do it.
We can go see the ruins of our Kuzanex. I was always interested in that one, considering it was the old place with sorceresses. Although, admittedly, my Auntie Etta never really liked them.
To be fair, who does?
Well, we should probably focus on getting back to the horses first. If they're still there.
I
You might
really
roll a
wouldn't like it
D100
if
and
they
see
were.
if your horses are. No, I'm just.
But, yeah, if Aratusa's closest, we could probably check that out.
So Aratusa is actually this little island. Well, this bigger of those two little islands there, but that's where Aratusa was. And this is roughly like where you guys are. Also, I mean, for those of you who were previously Scoia'tael, you're also in a place that hates you, and you probably hate. You are currently in Temeria.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should.
So getting to Aratusa is the trick. You could probably, go along the coastline, which might, like go down this way to try to avoid going anywhere through
Mm-hmm.
Temeria in any way, following the roads and such. Because like you could go down the roads here and then towards Sedaris. That's the
Maybe we could even charter a vessel.
you could do that as well. You would probably need to go to Sedaris to on a ship. So you would go here and then have to backtrack a little bit, but because there
Mhm.
wouldn't be any
Well,
ships or anything like that.
as long as we.
Never get this in and out the fastest. That place is not for us.
Well, let's stay on the side roads. Maybe some of us stay out of towns until we get out of Temeria.
Also, let me double check something because I think I may have just, not that it matters too much, but I think I may have pinged the wrong. Let me look at this map instead because it's hard to tell.
Jose, as I understood it, I think we are still like not even as far south as Oxenford. I don't think we're in Temeria yet, unless I misunderstood our earlier.
Yeah, you're probably still on the other side of the Pontar, so you're probably like here still in this sort of like area on this side, so you are probably not in Temeria just yet. And this map is actually worse than the other one as far as
Yes.
what I was trying to look at specifically. But there's like a little like speck right here. I think actually this little speck is actually where Aretusa is. It's hard to tell because the maps are there's not an official map really, so everybody is just sort of like made their own. Here, let me see if I can.
Yeah, it's all kind of best guesstimates.
Exactly, because the author never created one himself, and so there's variations between the maps of each game, and then also if you like search online, they've created maps that are based off of the TV show, which are different from the games as well. So it's hard to say, but it's in this general area. It's a little island off by itself, which essentially is pretty much just Aretusa on it by itself. Like that's the only thing on the island for the most part. So just as because it's never actually mentioned in the games itself, or it's mentioned, it's never shown. This is what they made it look like in the TV show. So obviously the part on the left is the actual school, and then there's like that rope bridge that Rob's character will fall off of and die.
100%.
Just takes you to this other little pillar here. But this is not what it would look like today because it was destroyed by the Redanians. So it is a ruin now and not a school.
Well, same thing applies. Let's keep our heads down, get through Temeria, visit the ruins.
So
Well.
yeah, sneaking, because obviously like you could go from Oxenfurt to Gorsvelen, and then from Gorsvelen would probably be the closest, but you wouldn't really want to go that way. You probably would not with the party makeup. You wouldn't want to go follow the main roads probably. So
No, probably follow along the river and the coast.
and obviously that you would still run across like fishing villages and things like that along the way, but you could probably skirt around them.
Yeah, so kind of like that.
And you can make your way to Oxenfurt. Oxenfurt is also a pretty big place, or at the very least, it's there's a college there, and so like you would be able to get supplies and anything that you really wanted to do to set yourself up to make a voyage off road.
Well, any objections?
No.
Let's just get this over with.
Yep.
Just chop up on the necessities. Replace the torch I burned through.
Well, okay then. Oxenford first.
So, I mean, obviously, like that'll be a fair stopping point for this session.